Sinbad the Sailor, Voyage 6. I know, my friends, that you will wish to hear how, after having been shipwrecked 5 times and escaped so many dangers, I could resolve again to tempt fortune and expose myself to new hardships. I am myself astonished at my conduct when I reflect upon it, and must certainly have been actuated by my destiny, from which none can escape. Be that as it may, after a year's rest, I prepared for a sixth voyage, notwithstanding the entreaties of my kindred and friends, who did all in their power to dissuade me. Instead of taking my way by the Persian Gulf, I traveled once more through several provinces of Persia and the Indies, and arrived at a seaport. Here I embarked in a ship, the captain of which was bound on a long voyage, in which he and the pilot lost their course. Suddenly we saw the captain quit his rudder, uttering loud lamentations. He threw off his turban and beat his head like a madman. We asked him the reason, and he answered that we were in the most dangerous place in all the ocean. A rapid current carries the ship along with it, and we shall all perish in less than a quarter of an hour. Pray to God to deliver us from this peril. We can't escape if He do not take pity on us. At these words he ordered the sails to be lowered, but all the ropes broke, and the ship was carried by the current to the foot of an inaccessible mountain, where she struck and went to pieces, yet in such a manner that we saved our lives, our provisions, and the best of our goods. The mountain at the foot of which we were was covered with wrecks, with a vast number of human bones, and with an incredible quantity of goods and riches of all kinds. This object served only to augment our despair. In all other places, it is usual for rivers to run from their channels into the sea, but here a river of fresh water runs from the sea into a dark cavern, whose entrance is very high and spacious. What is most remarkable in this place is that the stones of the mountain are of crystal, rubies, or other precious stones. Here is also a sort of mountain of pitch or bitumen that runs into the sea, which the fish swallow and evacuate soon afterward, turn into ambergris, and this the waves throw up on the beach in great quantities. Trees also grow here, most of which are of food of aloes, equal in goodness to those of Gomari. Camphor is the produce of certain trees in Borneo, Sumatra, and Japan. Camphor lies in perpendicular veins near the center of the tree, or in its nodes, and the same tree exudes euthermat oil of camphor, the vegetation, and subsequently the Dutch. Monophore is the sale of camphor. It is not possible for ships to get off when once they approach within a certain distance. If they be driven thither by a wind from the sea, the wind and the current impel them. And if they come into it when a land wind blows, which might seem to favor their getting out again, the height of the mountain stops the wind and occasions a calm, so that the force of the current carries them ashore. And what completes the misfortune is that there is no possibility of ascending the mountain or of escaping by sea. We continued upon the shore at the foot of the mountain in a state of despair and expected death every day. On our first landing, we had divided our provision as equally as we could, and thus everyone lived a longer or a shorter time, according to his temperance and the use he made of his provisions. I survived all my companions, and when I buried the last, I had so little provisions remaining that I thought I couldn't long survive, and I dug a grave, resolving to lie down in it because there was no one left to pay me the last offices of respect. But it pleased God once more to take compassion on me, and put it in mind to go to the bank of the river, which ran into the great cavern. Considering its probable course with great attention, I said to myself, this river, which runs thus underground, if I make a raft and leave myself to the current, it will convey me to some inhabited country, or I shall perish. If I be drowned, I lose nothing, only change one kind of death for another. Immediately went to work upon large pieces of timber and cables, for I had a choice of them from the wrecks, and tied them together so strongly that I soon made a very solid raft. When I had finished, I loaded it with some treasure of rubies, ambergris, rock crystal, and bales of rich stuffs. Having balanced my cargo exactly and fastened it well to the raft, I went on board with two oars that I had made, and leaving it to the course of the river, resigned myself to the will of God. As soon as I entered the cavern, I lost all light, and the stream carried me I knew not whither. I floated on in perfect darkness, and once found the earth so low that it very nearly touched my head, which made me cautious afterward to avoid the like danger. All this while I ate nothing but what was just necessary to support nature. Yet, notwithstanding my frugality, all my provisions were spent. Then I became insensible. I can't tell how long I continued so, but when I revived, I was surprised to find myself on an extensive plain on the brink of a river, where my raft was tied amidst a great number of negroes. I got up as soon as I saw them and saluted them. They spoke to me, but I didn't understand their language. I was so transported with joy that I knew not whether I was asleep or awake. But being persuaded that I was not asleep, I recited the following words in Arabic aloud: Call upon the Almighty, He will help thee. Thou needest not perplex themselves about anything else. Shut the eyes, and while thou art asleep, God will change your bad fortune into good. One of the negroes who understand Arabic, hearing me speak thus, came toward me and said, Brother, be not surprised to see us. We are inhabitants of this country, and water our fields from this river which comes out of the neighboring mountain. We saw your raft, and one of us swam into the river and take you here, where we fastened it. As you see, till you should awake, pray tell us your history. Whence did you come? I begged of them first to give me something to eat, and then I would satisfy their curiosity. They gave me several sorts of food, and when I had satisfied my hunger, I related all that had befallen me, which they listened to with attentive surprise. As soon as I had finished, they told me, by the person who spoke Arabic and interpreted to them what I said, that I must go along with them and tell my story to their king myself. It being too extraordinary to be related by any other than the person to whom the events had happened. They immediately sent for a horse, and having helped me to mount, some of them walked before to show the way, while the rest took my raft and cargo and followed. We marched till we came to the capital, for it was on that island I had landed. The negroes presented me to their king. I approached his throne and saluted him as I used to do the kings of the Indies. That is to say, I prostrated myself at his feet. The prince ordered me to rise, received me with an obliging air, and made me sit down near him. I concealed nothing from the king, but related to him all that I have told you. At last my raft was brought in, and the bales opened in his presence. He admired the quantity of wood of aloes and ambergris, but above all the rubies. He had none in his treasury that equalated them. Observing that he looked on my jewels with pleasure, and viewed the most remarkable among them, one after another, I felt prostrate at his feet. I felt prostrate at his feet, and took the liberty to say to him, Sir, not only my person is at your majesty's service, but the cargo of the raft, and I would beg of you to dispose of it as your own. He answered me with a smile, Sinbad, I will take nothing of yours. Far from lessening your wealth, I design to augment it, and will not let you quit my dominions without marks of liberty. He then charged one of his officers to take care of me, and ordered people to serve me at his own expense. The officer was very faithful in the execution of his commission, and caused all the goods to be carried to provide for me. I went every day at a set or to make my court to the king, and spent the rest of my time in viewing the city. And what was most worthy of notice, the capital stands at the end of a fine valley, in the middle of the island, encompassed by high mountains. There are seen 3 days' sail of at sea. Rubies and several sorts of minerals abound. All kinds of rare plants and trees grow there, especially coconut. There is also a pearl fishery in the mouth of its principal river, and in some of its valley are found diamonds. I made, by way of devotion, where Adam was confined after his banishment from paradise, and had the curiosity to go to the top of the mountain. When I returned to the city, I prayed the king to allow me to return to my own country, and he granted me permission in the most obliging and honorable manner. He would force a rich present upon me, and at the same time he charged me with a letter of the commander of the faithful, saying to me, I pray you give this present from me, and this letter to the Khalifa Harunur Rashid, and assure him of my friendship. The letter from the king of Serendip was written on the skin of a certain animal of great value, very scarce and of a yellowish color. The character of this letter were of deep blue, and the content was that the king of the Indies, before whom march 100 elephants, who lives in a palace that shines with 100,000 rubies, and who has in his treasury 20,000 crowns enriched with diamonds, to Khalifa Harunul Rashid. Though the present we send you be inconsiderable, receive it, however, as a brother and a friend, in consideration of the hearty friendship which we bear for you, and of which we are willing to give you proof. We desire the same part in your friendship, considering that we believe it to be our merit. As we are both kings, we send you this letter as from one brother to another. Farewell. The present consisted one of one single ruby made into a cup about half a foot high, an inch thick, and filled with round pearls of half a dram each, the skin of a serpent, whose scales were as white as an ordinary piece of gold, and had the virtue to preserve from the sickness those who lay upon it. 50,000 drams of the best wood of aloes, with 30 grains of camphor as big as pistachios, and a female slave of a great beauty, whose robe was covered with jewels. The ship set sail, and after a very successful navigation, we landed at Bussorah, and from thence I went to the city of Baghdad, where the first thing I did was to acquit myself of my commission. I took the king of Serendip's letter, and went to present myself at the gate of the commander of the faithful, and was immediately conducted to the throne of the Khalifa. I made my obeisance, and presented the letter and gift. When he had read what the king of the Serendip wrote to him, he asked me if that prince were really so rich and potent as he represented himself in his letter. I prostrated myself a second time, and rising again said, Commander of the faithful, I can assure your majesty he does not exceed the truth. I bear him witness. Nothing is more worthy of admiration than the magnificence of his palace. When the prince appears in public, he has a throne fixed on the back of an elephant, and wears betwixt two ranks of his ministers, favourers, and other people of his court. Before him upon the same elephant, an officer carries a golden lance in his hand, and behind him there is another, who stands with a rod of gold, on the top of which is an emerald, half a foot long and an inch thick. He is attended by a guard of 1,000 men, clad in cloth of gold and silk, and mounted on elephants richly covered with decorative trappings. The officer who is before him on the same elephant carries from time to time, with a loud voice, Behold the great king, the potent and beautiful Sultan of the Indies, the king greater than Suleiman and the powerful Maharaja. After he has pronounced those words, the officer behind the throne carries in his turn. This king, so great and so powerful, must die, must die, must die. And the officer before replies, It is alone to be him who live forever and ever. The Khalifa was much pleased with my account, and sent me home with a rich present. Here Sinbad commanded another 100 sequins to be paid to Hindbad, and begged his return on the morrow to hear his seventh and last voyage. To be continued.